Today, the United States and Israel are one of the closest alliances in the world. Billions in aid, deep military cooperation, intelligence sharing, political alignment across decades. From the outside, it feels like something that was always meant to be, like a natural partnership that formed out of shared values and common interests. But history is rarely that simple. Because what if this relationship almost didn't happen at all? What if the decision that started it wasn't inevitable, but uncertain, rushed, and heavily contested? And what if, behind the scenes, the people responsible for that decision weren't even in agreement? To understand the alliance we see today, you have to go back to a moment where nothing was guaranteed, and everything could have gone differently. The story begins in the aftermath of World War II, a world trying to rebuild itself after unimaginable destruction. Across Europe, entire cities had been leveled. Governments had collapsed. Millions of people were displaced, wandering across borders that no longer felt stable or secure. And among them were Jewish survivors of the Holocaust. People who had lost homes, families, entire communities. For many, returning to their former lives wasn't possible. So a question began to grow louder, not just among survivors, but across the international community. Where do they go now? At the same time, in the Middle East, another situation was unfolding. The region known as Palestine had been under British control for decades. But by the late 1940s, Britain was exhausted, economically weakened by the war, and increasingly unable to manage the rising tensions between Jewish and Arab communities in the region. Violence was escalating, trust was breaking down, and Britain made a decision. They would step away and hand the problem over to the newly formed United Nations. The United Nations proposed a solution that seemed on paper like a compromise. Divide the land into two states, one Jewish, one Arab, two peoples, two governments, one divided territory. But what was intended as a path to peace quickly became a source of even greater tension. Back in the United States, this moment triggered a debate that reached the highest levels of government. On one side, there was growing support for the creation of a Jewish state. The humanitarian argument was powerful. After the horrors of the Holocaust, many believed there was a moral obligation to support a homeland where Jewish people could live safely and independently. But on the other side, there was deep concern, especially from experienced foreign policy officials. They saw the situation differently. They warned that recognizing a new state in such a volatile region could ignite widespread conflict. They worried it could damage relationships with Arab nations, relationships that were becoming increasingly important, both strategically and economically. And they feared the United States could be drawn into a conflict it wasn't prepared to manage. This wasn't just disagreement. It was a fundamental divide in how to approach one of the most complex international issues of the time. At the center of it all was Harry S. Truman. Truman wasn't just navigating foreign policy, he was navigating pressure from every direction. Supporters of a Jewish state were urging immediate action, emphasizing the urgency of the moment and the moral responsibility to respond. Meanwhile, key members of his own administration, including senior officials in the State Department, strongly advised caution. They believed recognition should be delayed or avoided altogether. The stakes were incredibly high. Recognize the new state too quickly and risk destabilizing an already fragile region. Wait too long and risk missing a moment that many believed carried deep moral significance. At times, the pressure became overwhelming. Truman grew frustrated with constant lobbying and advocacy efforts, even restricting access to the White House to manage the intensity of it all. But no matter how much he tried to create distance, the decision couldn't be avoided. On May 14, 1948, the moment finally arrived. Jewish leaders declared the establishment of the State of Israel. Almost immediately, the question reached Washington. What will the United States do? Recognize or wait? Support or stay neutral? What happened next is one of the most overlooked moments in modern history. Just 11 minutes after Israel declared independence, the United States officially recognized it. 11 minutes. One of the fastest recognitions of a new nation in U.S. history. But the speed of that decision tells only part of the story. Because behind those 11 minutes was weeks, months of uncertainty, disagreement, and pressure. This wasn't a decision everyone supported. It wasn't even a decision everyone agreed on at the moment it was made. It was a choice made in real time, under pressure, knowing the consequences would be global. What often gets left out of this story is just how divided the United States truly was at that moment. Some of Truman's closest advisors believed immediate recognition was a mistake, one that could have long-term consequences for U.S. interests in the region. Others believed delaying recognition would send a message of hesitation, or worse, indifference. And beyond foreign policy, there were domestic pressures as well. Public opinion was shifting. Political considerations were in play. The world was watching. This decision wasn't made in isolation. It was shaped by competing priorities, moral, political, and strategic, all colliding at once. And even after recognition, nothing was settled, because almost immediately, conflict broke out in the region. The future of Israel and its relationship with the United States remained uncertain. In the years that followed, the relationship between the United States and Israel didn't instantly become what it is today. It evolved, slowly at first, then more clearly over time. As the Cold War intensified, the Middle East became a region of growing strategic importance. Global alliances were shifting, power dynamics were changing, and within that context, the relationship between the United States and Israel began to take on new meaning. Shared interests, particularly around security and stability, started to align more closely. Military cooperation expanded, political ties deepened, and over time, what began as a controversial and uncertain decision became a defining alliance in modern geopolitics. But that transformation wasn't inevitable. It was shaped, step, by decisions, events, and changing priorities. Today, the U.S.-Israel relationship is often seen as a constant, something stable, expected, and deeply rooted. But history tells a different story, because at its beginning, nothing was guaranteed. The decision that shaped this alliance wasn't simple, it wasn't unanimous, and it wasn't inevitable. It was made in a moment of uncertainty, under pressure, with the world watching. And like many moments in history, what we see today wasn't just shaped by what happened, but by what almost didn't. In our next chapter, we will look into today's relationship and the modern challenges of this historic alliance. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth historical documentaries.